This is an album, $3 Bill Y'all, the debut, arguably their best album, I would say, in my opinion.
Okay.
But when it came out, I kind of when we spoke about this a little bit, I kind of hated a little bit on Limp Bizkit, so I didn't really listen to it as thoroughly as probably I could. I'm sure Eric probably has an even a similar story to an even more harsh degree because he definitely wasn't into like the new metal era stuff. But as I revisit this album, I really like it, and there's a lot of like little nuance I want to talk about today with it. But I mean, I kind of want to get each of you guys' thoughts on it. But to start, one of the things I really like about it is the intro with the guy going, "Kill the pollution, kill the pollution," and then it goes into that song, "Pollution." With that raw ass guitar riff. But there are a couple songs. So this is I guess I'm starting. This is kind of my take on the album overall. I think overall it's Limp Bizkit's best album. And there's some of the deep cuts like Stuck and Stalemate are some of my favorite tracks on here.
Yeah.
And I think that like the first couple songs are fire, but then like a song like Nobody Loves Me, it's not bad, but it's like it's kind of like it almost seems like filler. They're like, "Oh, what do we do here? Oh, nobody loves me." Yeah, say that. You know, it seems like he's kind of like didn't really think about much about it. I guess I'll go and eat worms. It's like that kind of thing. But it's also kind of speaks. But at the same token, it kind of speaks to the sense of humor they have about themselves. Like they're like, we're not that serious about it. Like we can do a song like Nobody Loves Me or a cover of Faith like that. And then the very last song, Everything, it's very Jane's Addiction. It's almost like a Jane's Addiction type track. That was another one to me that felt like they kind of just like phoned it in. They're like, "Oh, we needed a track for the end of the album. Hey, play some on the bass and let's just record it." You know what I mean? But overall, if I was like grading this album on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give it a 7 or an 8. Just because the strong tracks on it are so good. And also like a song like Counterfeit, for example. I think it's like that song has so many changes in it. You know what I mean? Like there's so many riff like dynamics in it.
That's the single, right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of my favorite tracks.
I like the way that it ends at the end, how the riff changes and he goes into that he does that like kind of like descending riff, like the song totally changes. But anyway, that's kind of my take on it. Overall, I think it's a fucking killer album, and the guitar work, like Wes's guitar work, and just the creativity of it, the way. Like the other thing is, I think for like this era, they were doing something that was cool in like blending hip hop and metal in a way that like hadn't really been done before. Yeah. Like Rage was doing kind of the hard political stuff, but Fred kind of has more of like an emotional quality to his voice, and he's doing like soft singing and screaming, and like his rhymes are sick. Like you mentioned something earlier about Suicidal. Like he name checks Suicidal in some of the lyrics. Like
all I wanted was a Pepsi, just one Pepsi, far from suicidal. Still I get them tendencies, bringing back the memory.
There's one song, I think it's Stuck, where he goes, soon I'm gonna bring you doom with the buck. Like that kind of like little cadence switch ups and stuff that he does, I think are so good on this album. And later on in their stuff, he never like did that again. It bothered.
That's what I was gonna say, because I feel like besides Significant Other, I haven't really listened to any more of Limp Bizkit's discography. So listening to this is interesting too. After we heard that little clip of Wes talking about how like the guitar players ditched them before they recorded it, and then they called him up and like had him come in and we're like, fuck it, let's just try and put this out. It's like it's very different. Even from Significant Other, it's very different. Like just the overall vibe, like the rawness. Is this also Ross Robinson, the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably part of it.
Joey, I want to get your take on this album because you're like me. You listened to it back in the day.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Wasn't
for me,
alive.
I was just starting high school when this came out, so I mean, it was different. It was cool. I've never been a huge Limp Bizkit fan, but like, I think because of the nostalgia surrounding this album for me, I've always kind of appreciated this one. Listening to it this last week, I had some really mixed feelings on it. Because I was kind of listening with a more critical, spirit or whatever. I was like, I don't know. Part of me is like, you can tell Fred's very talented in like how you were describing the different rapping styles and things like that. I find his lyrics pretty cheesy,
Yeah.
and kind of shallow. And again, if he's kind of going for that making fun of himself kind of vibe, then it works. But if he was trying to be at all serious, I feel like it's a little cheesy. But one thing I really appreciated about this, listening to it again, was Wes's guitar work. I don't think I've ever paid as close attention. And I think that's what really makes me like this album yet is that guitar work. And it's not like out there like a Van Halen album or something, where it's like guitar is front and center. But like, I don't know, if you really listen to it, like the guitar is what makes this album.
Totally.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And like, I don't know, there's some really good songs. I think, Pollution, Counterfeit, Stuck are probably the better ones. There's a couple mixed in there that are decent. Faith will always have a dear place in my heart because me and a couple buddies won a talent show at high school doing that.
Awesome.
Too bad we don't have a
then,
video of that.
What's that?
Too bad we don't have a video of that.
Yeah. Well, actually, good thing we don't have it. And then two more things. Indigo Flow. I feel like you kind of got his rap style in a more mature way. It's not kind of those cheesy lyrics. It's kind of paying homage to, all the bands and stuff that have helped him out or, befriended them or whatever.
Microphones daily, props to the maestro. Ross, you're an angel. Hey DJ, wanna play that song?
So I appreciated that one again. And then the last song, Everything. I don't think I've ever listened to that entire track until this last week. And I actually, even though it went on forever, I found myself like really enjoying just kind of like getting lost in that, that instrumental.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that last track more than I ever have. So that's my take on the whole album. DJ Lethal too, I would say, also makes this album. Like, if it's not for Wes's guitar work and DJ Lethal, I don't think I'd like it.
To be fair, too, I do want to say, and I'm not trying to hate on Fred Durst either, but John Otto, and I don't know the bass player's name too, their rhythm section holds it down also. Like, their whole band is just really solid.
For sure.
I think, like I said, I haven't listened to all their music, but you can tell that he was still finding himself on this record.
Yeah.
But it's still good. Like, it's still interesting to listen to. And I like that about, and like their name's Limp Bizkit too. So I don't know how serious they're trying to be, but it's fun.
And I don't want to hate on Fred either, because I actually think if I could hang out with him, I'd really like him.
He seems like a dope guy.
But like, I don't know. If you don't know maybe him personally, he just seems kind of like a cheese ball on this. On any Limp Bizkit album, really.
He's a troll for sure.
Do you guys want to hear my Fred Durst brush with Fred Durst story?
Yeah.
When I first moved to LA in the 2000s, I played in a band called Dark Orchestra. And they were really killer musicians, but I was begging them to change the name. So I'm like, dude, it's Dorchestra. It's like that's a dumb name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of dumb. It sounds like yeah, you're trying too hard to be evil sounding. Or
yeah,
something.
it was. I thought it was
Dark Orchestra.
It was Cheevel, yeah. So I eventually convinced them to change the name to Jagged Thought Process, which I thought was much better.
That's way better.
But when we were still Dark Orchestra, we made a demo, and we were always at the Troubadour in Hollywood. And at the time, Fred Durst had just started his Flawless imprint label, and he was taking demos and stuff from bands and trying to like help young bands. And so we gave him our demo that we had recorded, and it was so shitty. It was pretty shit. It was like the quality of it was terrible. But he called our guitarist, and I wish he had saved the voicemail. But our guitarist played me the message, and Fred said something like, he's like, I listen, guys, I listened to your demo, and he's like, it's a little ridiculous, but but I hear something in there. In my head, I was like, oh, he's talking about he hears me because I was the vocalist and stuff.
Yeah.
But nothing ever came of it. We ended up going to the showcase. The band he signed at his showcase was Puddle of Mud.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was pretty funny, the showcase, because there was a bunch of these like rap rock bands. There were all these like Long Beach like shaved head dudes, like rap rockers, like trying to be Limp Bizkit type guys. You know what I mean? And Puddle of Mud came out with just more of kind of like a radio rock sound. And I think that kind of was what won the day. But anyway, that was my brush with Fred Durst. Like he heard our demo and called us back. So
Well, that's cool.
that was pretty fucking cool of him.
I've never had that.
Anyway, Eric, what's Eric's like? You're the newest to this.
So yeah, to be completely honest with you, with the exception of Faith, this is the first time I've actually heard this album.
Yeah.
And so that being
It doesn't
said,
surprise us, Eric.
No.
well, I know. So I listened to the guitar work. I really enjoy the guitar work in it. I'm not sure, can't remember the guy's name. I remember seeing him, but I don't know who it is that plays the guitar. But I really enjoy I really enjoy his guitar work. For me, it goes countersync to what I grew up with. So it's hard for me to like say I really like this about it.
Yeah.
Because that to me is like is completely opposite of how what it really means. I mean, it feels different thinking about it than it actually does expressing myself over it. And I know that sounds weird, but I want to give the guys credit for what they did, because they did a killer album. You know what I mean? And the hell of it got your thing. It's just not my thing.
Yeah,
it's just not my thing.
See, that I understand too, because it's fun. I feel like my generation was the first generation that grew up like as fans of rap.
Yeah.
You were a generation before me, and even though rap existed, like the Beastie Boys and like Run DMC and stuff, it was like my generation was like everyone listened to rap. Like rap was such a huge part of the culture in the 90s. And so I think that's why maybe this style of music is a little more appealing to someone like me than it is to you.
Well, I think too that I think, and along that same line, I think that the rap was very distinct in its people, and so we metal people took to they took to their stuff, and the rap people took to their stuff, and we had a few blend-ins, like the Anthrax and the Aerosmith and stuff like that, but it was never anything like this.
You know what I was watching? This is kind of like at random, but I was watching Finn McKenty did a thing about Pantera the other night. And one of the things he pointed out that I never really thought of is how Pantera kind of blew the lid off thrash metal. And he talked about how thrash metal was very kind of like, it didn't have groove. Like it was very mechanical.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, that's so true. Because like as much as I love Megadeth and Metallica, like or even like I won't even, Metallica has groove, like, but like so a lot of those early thrash bands like Exodus and Megadeth
Yeah.
and stuff, it's all technicality. There's no groove. And Pantera was the band that really like
Groove
blew the
metal.
lid,
Yeah.
like brought groove to metal
Yeah.
because they had that like ZZ Top fucking kind of underlying Southern fucking groove to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like where Korn and Limp Bizkit took it to the next level by infusing hip hop into it and really making, because Pantera kind of like already had like brought groove to metal at this point.
Yeah.
And so then these guys fused it with that style of metal, the heavier style of metal with hip hop, where Rage is more like Led Zeppelin with a rapper. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, I feel bad in saying, because I like Anthrax, and Anthrax had they had a couple songs that were kind of rappy sounding themselves, and it's not that I don't like rap. It's just that
it's okay if you don't.
No, I don't. I like rap.
It's not, and you might like certain kinds of rap or some rap and stuff like that. But I think that's like this generation, the reason, because you're a generation before the new metal shit. Like,
yeah,
this is what was popular when me and Joey were teenagers, So, and I was just commenting that I think like, because rap was so like ingrained in our musical culture, it makes a little more sense. This type of stuff probably makes more sense to us than someone like you.
Yeah, that makes it. I mean, that makes a lot of sense because, like I said, I was more in the middle of everything, and the rap coming out and that kind of stuff. And so, that being said, it's kind of weird just to see it all blended together.
Do you like Rage Against the Machine, Eric?
Yeah, I love Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. The guitar playing on this, again, like before we move on, it is like phenomenal. Like, it's good enough to elevate everything else. But also like Dryden was saying, that rhythm section, but there's stuff that Wes does on this when I listen to it now, like that breakdown when the song, like, the song, the first song, Pollution, when it breaks down into like and Wes does like, goes to a clean guitar, he does this kind of like plinky thing, and it goes and he goes, and I'm gonna bring that beat back when it gets to that breakdown part. The stuff that he's doing on the guitar right there is so cool. It's so like, it's not technical, but it's like it changes the mood, and it it's such a cool like way to blend. He just has.
That's why I was mentioning how it would be crazy if like they ended up not going with him, like they ended up making the album with those other guys, and who knows where it would have gone without.
They did an album without him, right?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they were gearing up to record this and put this out without Wes, and then those dudes like dipped on them, and they were like, "All right, well, let's call up Wes."
Well, we can all agree that this album would not be the powerhouse that it is without Wes Borland.